They're all there.
I call to order the Porterville Area Development Authority meeting agenda. Anybody want to take roll call?
Yes, Your Honor, if you don't mind. We have a tribe ex-official member Neil Payron, which doesn't appear to be online. City ex-official member John Lawless.
Present?
Tribe member Vernon Vera. City member Don Wyrock.
Present.
Secretary Baldo Rodriguez.
Present.
Vice President Raymond Beltran.
Present.
And President Shine Nieto.
Present. Let's do the pledge of allegiance. You want to take over? All right, okay, go ahead.
Please salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Moving along, anybody got any oral communications?
There's none online either, Your Honor.
None online either? Okay. So we'll move along to the matters. Approval of draft minutes for April 21st, 2023.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Baldo, seconded by Mr. Beltran to approve the minutes of April 21st, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? What is it? What's the count?
Motion passes 5-0, Your Honor.
500. Thank you. Scheduled matter number 2, city reimbursement of eligible expenses and construction update of the tertiary treatment wastewater facility, collection system, and recycled waste infrastructure project. Anybody got any information on that? What we're doing?
Yes, Mr. President, before the board for consideration of approval this afternoon is city reimbursement of eligible expenses and construction costs. 2 submittals are up for consideration for the month of March, and this is submitted by Clark Brothers Incorporated. For the month of March was submittal for $295,732.80, and for the month of April was $424,531.97 for a combined consideration for reimbursement of $720,264.77. Recommendation would be for the board to approve the reimbursement.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Lawless?
Of course.
I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but one of the things I note is I very rarely see the engineer's signature on this. Is that because it's, can you tell me why? I mean, I would feel more comfortable.
I will defer to somebody more qualified than myself to answer that question.
Right. We do provide a written approval to the contractor and tribe reps that are all copied on this email. Yeah, so it's not like it's not approved, but
But is it possible to have a document in front of us that is signed by the city's rep? Is that a possibility?
we can do that, yeah. Yeah.
I move that we approve.
I got a motion from Waldo and seconded by Brendan Vera to approve the tertiary wastewater facility project payment or reimbursement for $720,264.77. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Motion
5-0.
passes. Sorry, motion passes 5-0-0.
And maybe would be a good time for just an update on the status of that. Thank you for the reimbursement to the board. Mike or Javier, you want to, maybe Mike?
Progress is not much different than the last update provided. However, coatings have been applied to the surge tank, the backflow devices, pumping infrastructure. The tank has been coated. The details within the startup equipment inside the facility is being worked through. Current items being evaluated is the chemical storage portion of the facility. Scheduling for some Edison work to be done out there in conjunction with the TWSF is also the commissioning of the lift station 7 and lift station 12. The wet wells and infrastructure has been installed, panels have been set, been inspected by the city of Porterville. We're waiting for Edison to finalize their schedule. If all is well, we would be looking about 6 weeks for the energizing of those two facilities. The estimated completion date is still looking to be sometime in August, with some hopefully startup testing before that, and then commissioning of the facility. Happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions for him or anybody online want to ask any questions?
Quick question, if I may. The pavement, the AC pavement's probably going to get started now that everything's drying out. I see there's about $240,000 left for the pavement in and around it.
So there was a recent change order being evaluated internally in regards to the access for chemical deliveries. That required a evaluation of an additional entry point. That also triggered some additional asphalt to be applied to that area. Grading will begin in the next couple weeks, and then asphalt would be to follow that. So probably mid next month, we'll start seeing some asphalt on the ground. I know there's some curbing that is going in out there that will be put in place prior to the asphalt as well.
And then the only other question that I had is some of the critical components to keep it running, should they go down, lead time to get spare parts sometimes is longer. Are we going to inventory, is there a plan to inventory any critical pieces of equipment that we could swap out, or has there not been any consideration? We don't need to worry about it.
That's part of it. Currently working on the inventory list and warranty cycle of the materials. And then they'll be evaluating spare parts as we go through completion of the project.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anybody else?
I would add that the city and the tribe executed a water use agreement dealing with interim water use, given the opening of the casino preceding the completion of the tertiary treatment. And obviously that was in large part due to the previous Eagle Mountain Casino not having access due to damage from flooding and the access up to the, so certainly accelerated the opening date, which my apologies for missing, being in Washington, D.C. for that. Should have probably followed the, I'm assuming Mr. President attended. Unfortunately, the mayor and I were flying out at 6 a.m. that day, and we tried to look at tickets being changed for that, but sorry that I missed that. But that agreement was done, and so considerations are being given to use of potable water when recycled water should have been the case, and an agreement that was established to help set that forth.
Mr. Wallace, is there a sunset to that agreement?
No, it deals with essentially how interim water is used, should the for example, if the plant should go down, how And this comes to this swinging L that allows for potable water to be used on an interim basis should it be needed. And so it's under those terms.
Anybody else got anything on that before we move along? Everybody's good? Okay, moving along then to item 3, city reimbursement of eligible expenses and construction update of the storm drain recharge retention basin project.
So, Mr. President, before the board is consideration of reimbursement of $1,408,413.51. And these are based on submittals to the tribe by Mitchell Brown General Engineering. In the month of March was for $335,090.32, and for the month of April was $1,073,323.19. And again, for the combined reimbursement request to the Tuluth River Tribe of $1,408,413.51. It's a recommendation for that the board give approval to that.
Any questions or concerns about that, or anything you guys want to say? Or any motions?
What is, if I may, what is the percentage, the progress as far as to completion?
Of the overall project, or,
The one that Mr. Brown is constructing for us?
yeah, the dirt work's about 75% complete. They're just going to finish up some areas, and they have pipe out on site, which they're working through a county encroachment permit on Road 216, and then finalizing a right of entry on Mr. Knuckles' property.
I know,
That should be going soon.
no change orders to date.
None to date, no.
Okay, good. I move that we approve.
I'll second.
I got a motion from Mr. Baldo again, and seconded by Mr. Beltran, or the city reimbursement of eligible expenses for the construction update of the storm drain recharge retention basin project. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 500.
Motion passed 5-0.
Thank you, kind sir. Okay, moving along, item 4, local roads improvement coordination.
Yes, Mr. President, as I shared, I was in Washington, D.C., met with Congressman Valadeo, who has sponsored and is in front of is currently with the Budget Committee, which is for a $3.5 million, it's called community project funding. Some would call it an earmark, and this would be for $3.5 million for the realignment of Scranton Avenue between West Street and Westwood Street, which would solve a couple things. One being the intersection of Scranton and Westwood, which had signalization or a roundabout to be constructed at that intersection, which then moves that intersection down to what's called future alignment of Worth Avenue on Westwood Street, and then that would then be connecting to West. And that also allows for the shift in the runway, which meetings were also held with the FAA Director of Airports, who spoke to his support of that, and would also be contacting the state, I think they call it the ADO. ADO, is that the right? Marines. At any rate, basically state FAA to show support for the project. Pleased with the activities that are on the Porterville Airport and how it might, how the shift might better benefit operations at the Porterville Airport with a runway currently at 6,000 feet and would go to 7,800, given activities there. So we're currently in environmental analysis of that, which should be finished in June, I believe. June, July, and look to begin construction on these on a roundabout that would be at the intersection of West and Scranton. That would also have, and there would also be an interim traffic plan to allow continued access through that intersection while that construction occurs, as well as a new road and a new roundabout that would be constructed at a second roundabout at Westwood and, like I said, Worth, and allowing that in the meantime as well. So total project cost is about $12 million. There's a $2 million federal grant for the roundabout at Westwood and Worth. Has a 10% match attached to it, and then, like I said, there's a $3.5 million community project funding federal earmark, which the congressman said he's very supportive of, but he said, if you can tell me how the federal budget is going to be resolved, you should play the lottery as well. So, yeah, he said it's very uncertain with all of the debt ceiling negotiations and federal budget, just a lot of uncertainty. But the good news is that there's a $3.5 million community project funding request that's in front of the Budget Committee, which has shown support thus far. So it'll be subject to the federal budget. So just kind of an overview of what that, and then in addition to that, further conversations about Teapot Dome Avenue already beginning of getting started on environmental and potential right-of-way acquisition. A number of things, I guess I just want to touch on this on a high level. While we were in Washington, D.C., TCAG there's been $30 million in state grant funds secured for the widening of 99 through Tulare County, which the state of California is kind of thrown a wrench in the works, dealing with what's called their sustainable community strategy, and this deals with mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions as it related to vehicle miles traveled, according to their calculations. So the state is questioning the methodology that has been used by the Central Valley in its totality, and to which Tulare County gets included in that San Joaquin Valley. I think it's called the 8-county calculation for the 99. So long story short, there may be mitigation projects that need to be identified to offset 99 vehicle miles traveled impacts, increases that are calculated by the state. So Teapot Dome indirectly may become an offset project. And what that would mean is a future planning for Cross Valley Corridor light rail along Teapot Dome, connecting the airport area, including the casino, fairgrounds, sports complex, and airport operations, to what we call the Butterfield Stage Corridor, which would be a future light rail, potential light rail connecting to the high-speed rail over in Hanford. So a lot of moving parts to look at potential funding coming to Teapot Dome to help do improvements along that corridor. And what's at stake is $30 million to help with the widening of 99, which may be stopped. So a lot of efforts being put in for planning and future funding for projects that could be supported. And again, these would be 20 years down the road. But you get planning dollars to do improvements today on some promises of 20 years from now.
I know Kerry Patterson was saying that there's some tribal road money out there. I think it's probably part of the FAST Act monies. But we'd have to clarify what they mean by tribal roads, since that is trust property.
Right.
That's one of the questions that we're going to have to look into.
And in that, in an unrelated conversation with FAA, but also with Department of Transportation, there was some discussion about connectivity as part of Teapot Dome, and it just a big, again, this was not at the implications come to the local level. This is occurring at a very high level as it relates to how does Tulare County itself mitigate what are the projects that Tulare County is going to do to mitigate widening of 99? And if that's what if that support's given environmentally for what's called the Sustainable Community Strategy, to proceed that, what are going to be the projects that mitigate it? And one of this, so already it's in their the Cross Valley Rail as it's called, so light rail through Tulare County from Porterville all the way to Hanford, through the communities of Lindsay, Farmersville, Exeter, Farmersville, Visalia, out to Hanford, and connecting to that, you'll hear about this Cross Valley Rail project through the TCRTA. A nexus of this could be, yes, we'd like to also incorporate the airport, Porterville Airport, and its associated activities to that as well. And with that comes funding for improvements along that corridor. And that came up as well.
So will you be working, the city be working on a plan that covers all that?
TCAG will be. Yeah,
TCAG,
but there
okay.
will be, I'm foreshadowing it now because I think you're going to be hearing me talk in the future about what is going on countywide to mitigate. So to allow $100 million in widening projects through Tulare County for the 99, how is the county itself, all in its totality, going to mitigate that increase, what they consider to be the increase in traffic that will happen because of that? Also, a part of that is what's called the inland port conversation, which is occurring now. So given the congestion of the ports in Oakland and Los Angeles, establishing 3 inland ports in the Central Valley, and so they've at this point been identified for Tulare County, Fresno County, and Stanislaus. It could be. I'm going to say north. There's 3. And so, given that Kern County is too close, Tulare County becomes the default for that along the 99. And then the connectivity of Porterville with the air would serve in a support system to the inland port conversation as a air cargo, because there's going to be a transition in time to air cargo as well instead of trucks.
But we're mainly talking about a truck, big truck depots and such.
That's what the state is saying, by widening it and this truck traffic coming through the Central Valley, which already has very bad air quality, how are you going to mitigate that? And so that gets to light rail connectivity from the airport area all the way to the high-speed rail in Hanford. It's their rules. You got to figure out how to play within it.
Anybody else got any comments on playing with them?
All right. Sorry but I wanted to tell you this now so that when that crazy talk, so to speak, this is very real. Mr. Smalley was very stressed when we were in DC about losing $30 million, which all this has to be determined by August. Not
By when?
August.
This year.
Yeah, there's a lot of money, like I said, $30 million in state grant funds, which those funds, by the way, have been asked, actually $2 billion of the state's road repair money has been asked for by Los Angeles and by San Francisco for their light rail and transit operations. Yeah, so lots of moving parts and lots of politics being played at the state level.
Okay, moving along.
My job to just keep you informed.
All right, item number 5, Tulare River Tribe Active Transportation Plan Update.
Yeah, Mr. President, we talked about this a little bit, and so incorporated in your packet is what is TCAG has appropriated through the state ATP program $2.981 million for what we call the pedestrian bridge projects. There's one on the, and there's a locator map that shows, the first is on the west side, which is to replace the swinging bridge that was destroyed in the last flooding incident. So this would be in that proximity to the county, or just, pardon me, to the I'm sorry, on the west side, this is the Cow Mountain Justice Center pedestrian bridge. So near Cow Mountain, connecting across to the Justice Center. This is where, when I was there, you'll hear about how I was down in the river and I was told there were rattlesnakes down there. So got myself out of there. So there would be a new bridge there. There's not an existing bridge there. And then on the east side in the locator map, this would be to replace the damaged bridge near the Tribal Council and Veterans Center. And so there's then some renderings of what that would be in dimensions and things of that nature.
Any reason why the sections don't match up with the plan view?
I don't. I know Four Creeks is right now in the design of this. And these are,
They just skip A, B, and C, jump to number D. Okay.
the city will be so this is, there's an ATP plan for the tribe that's being developed, so that this project could be submitted to the state. And it would have, I think I may have shared with this, if Tulare County is not considered a rural county by the state of California, it's considered an urbanized county. Had the, and that's in comparison to Northern California, some of the counties in Northern California as an example. If Tulare County was considered a rural county, the entire on-reservation project would have been funded, which I think was about 15 million. It just came short of that. It scored very well, but if Tulare County was a rural county, it would have been fully funded. But because we're an urbanized county, there was a different, higher threshold, so it didn't score. And so because it did score so well, at least wanting to get a project moving forward. So about $3 million was appropriated from what's called the local share of ATP by the county, by TCAG. And so the city will be administering those funds. But again, so in the plan, half of it's been done, which was on reservation. The other side of it is on the 40 acres within the city, and how the casino project can be interconnected with the fairgrounds, with the sports complex and the airport, and how that would facilitate pedestrian and bicycle traffic in and around that. So that part is still being worked on Four Creeks right now. There's not been a defined project. That will be part of that plan, is defining projects to be submitted in the next cycle of the ATP. But given that this is a city tribe collaborative effort, it's been asked that the city, as a member of TCAG, administer the project. So this is just providing information and an update. And right now, like I said, it's under design. The two bridges are under design by Four Creeks, who did the environmental already for it. I apologize. They did the plan. They are now doing the environmental, which would require CEQA and NEPA. This is what's unique. There's going to have to, because this is on federal land, NEPA is also going to have to be administered. Over the next 3 years is what I would say. So right now is environmental and design. NEPA will probably be the time on that. Usually 2 years. Yeah. That's going to be working with Fish and Wildlife across the river is going to be the time-sensitive part of it. So I would anticipate at least 2 years through the environmental process.
Any more comments or concerns with that item? 5.
Real quick, not a comment or a concern, but I saw a term bioswales to draw stormwater runoff to recharge basins. Are we going to see more and more of that as we work on tribal lands and in partnership with the tribe and even in our own community? adjacent to those areas?
Close to the river, you mean?
Well, it just shows a bioswale where there's a tree, and it looks like there's some type of, I thought I read in there, the runoff is supposed to flow to some recharge basin.
Right. Related to that, the state did come out in, what was it, like 2015, 2016? It's called MS4 requirements. And the bioswales are a component of that in that they are one option to improve water quality. So that standard design on, say, a parking lot, it'd go right into a catch basin through a pipe and end up at a basin or sometimes a waterway. And you have all those oils and solids that accumulate on a parking lot directly going to there. But what they've been implementing and requiring is that you have to contain a certain minimum storing on site before it can get into the storm drain system. So you have bioswales that help filtrate some of that, help the solids settle out. They've already been required on a number of multiple land development projects here in the city, along with like pervious concrete options, underground rock storage, where the runoff just goes underground, no one sees it. So it is a standard design feature for the last few years.
We've incorporated that into the Fallen Heroes Park. I believe around the splash pad, right? So as the splash pad's operating, it doesn't recirculate. So as it does, so that runoff from the splash pad goes into bioswales and then goes into recharge.
Everyone else is good with that? Moving along to other matters. Anybody, any other matters they want to discuss? Got any updates, Matt, on our next concert's gonna be?
Yeah, we got to get to the talk.
June 24th is Los Tigres del Norte. June 24th. And then July, Gabriel Iglesias. And then I think it's August is Medium to the Stars, Tyler Henry. That's all right there.
Media to the star.
Medium. You read poems and ghosts and talks to
Oh.
spirits. When's that one? Where's it on? You get a hard burn for that. I know.
She's the backup plan.
He's too expensive. I have a budget.
It could be the opening act, sir.
Because you gotta give us 6 months to prepare for it.
That's right.
You know, we gotta lose weight, get exercise, check our glasses.
Is there any other matters? Anybody got?
You know what he hates? Johnny Walker Blue as well. He hates it, hates it. The stuff's like, it's like cough syrup. It's terrible.
If I could add, we appreciate the city and the cooperation on the overflow parking. We did use it a few times. We appreciated that generosity and support of being able to use that. We've come close several other times, and I assume that we'll come close again. If not, get very, very close this weekend with the fair. We already saw a lot of cars streaming in last night. I'm sure parents kicking their teenagers out the door and continue driving to Teapot Dock.
I heard that was a thing. I was out there last night working, and I heard that was a definite thing. Drop the kids off at the rides and go to the casino. Speaking of that, we did get some traffic counts. If it's, oh, come on, I have it.
Okay, everybody's good?
Would you be interested in what the traffic counts were?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, all of a sudden, the president, anything else? So it's Scranton and West. So on the day of the grand opening, it was 11,200. So this is just Scranton and West. was 11,205 cars. The weekend traffic average was 8,582, and then the weekly traffic average was 6,511. Teapot Dome in West, so the grand opening day, 4,243. On the weekend average was 3,896, and the weekly average was 2,507. So it's trending at about a 3-to-1 Scranton versus Teapot Dome. Huh? Yeah. And speaking to that, the city council will be meeting next Tuesday with their priority project, and we'll be talking about street projects and things of that nature. Mr. Knight will be talking about our local road overlay program, and so in this area is part of that conversation about further. Is that fair, Mike? So we'll be talking about some of those things, but again, that's subject to city council approval.
So all we got left is for you to make a motion to adjourn. One of you.
I got the message, I'm done.
Yeah, I like to get things done too, so. All right. Thank you, kind sir.
I thought you made the motion, you just seconded.
I was waiting for you to do it.
I'll second.
You guys act like I like you or something. Don, to adjourn, and seconded by Mr. Beltran. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 500, sir? Thank you, guys.